Welcome and to Keep It Real with Ana and Avery for a very special Men's College World Series edition presented by Nebraska Brewing Company. And as promised, we have Mr. Steven Schoch with us. Steven, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's lovely weather you brought here, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I like that we're outside this year. I like that more. It's less hectic. And
last year was a little hectic. I think we were over at Lefties or Rocco's, and people were handing us shots. I mean, I don't complain about that, but
yeah,
it was a little hectic.
Yeah, the 4 tequila shots before coming on definitely gave me some extra confidence.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
We had some good things going in that one. But
it always works.
We'll bring the vibes today as well. Of course, if you don't know Steven Schoch, he went viral for an ESPN interview, 2 years ago that was?
Yeah.
How often does that pop up on your timeline?
So it's just random. It's very sporadic. I mean, this time of year, it always comes up because people are like, oh, this happened 3 years ago or 2 years ago. They haven't said 3 years ago yet. I imagine they might next year if they tweet it again, but it's always so weird, but it's the best because it just sends me right back to those days. Like, you know how there's like little memento. I'm a very like sentimental person, so like I get little mementos from everything that I do in life, and like I don't have scrapbooks, but like sometimes I'll look back and I'm like, I got press passes from a lot of events and a lot of things I've done. And so like my very first one was the Columbia regionals. Like it wasn't a press pass, it was like a credential, and I was like, oh, this is cool. So like I remember I saw the video and I'm like, oh yeah, let's look at that credential again, and like those memories, and like it just brings back so many different memories of being with the guys and having fun out there. And you know, it's just baseball is the greatest game in the world, and to remember that I played it at any level or any capacity, it's always good. And to have people that want to remind me about it, I mean, how could you beat that? So thank you to the internet for that.
Absolutely.
I feel like we saw your interview like just blow up. I know you said it comes up every time the World Series happens, but I feel like the last week I've seen it everywhere and everyone's like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Like, I think they think it's like still a reoccurring new interview every year.
Yeah,
do you feel that way?
I think this year, oddly enough, it was seen way more and like was way more out there than when it originally happened. And I think it like just the way they posted it, because I don't know why it goes back around. I'm not in control of that. I posted it like one time and said glory days, but that's just because I was bored and drunk in the summer, you know? So it's like they just kind of put it out, the ACC network, without much context. They just said this is like the greatest post-game interview. And Virginia, of course, keeps winning right now and is now in Omaha, which is great. Very happy about that. But I think the mixture of them still playing and it being known that they're still playing, combined with the interview just randomly going around without much context, I think a good bit of people assume I'm still in college and playing. And so, like, there was a guy yesterday, for example, who I tweeted a picture because I dressed up for the UVA practice, which was so much fun. But and this guy said, man, this guy's interview was legendary a couple of days ago. So sad we're going to have to hand him this L because he's a Florida fan. And I replied, man, what I'd give to take another loss with the boys.
That's amazing. And you were literally dressed up like a player exactly. And we watched the video and there's little kids like screaming either Steven or number 13 asking you for balls because you're out shagging BP. What was that like?
It's just such a good way to go back to the past and just remember what it was like, because I mean the last time I shagged BP was here in Omaha, and like I want to try to make it a yearly tradition. So hopefully the Who's can make it out here every year so that can happen. But if not, and there's other teams that are like, hey, we think you're cool, Steve, I'm open to it. I'll do it. That'd be fun.
Where did the uniform come from? Like, did you ask Coach? Did you pack it? Like, where did it come from? So before we came out to Omaha, of course, me, Jake, and Jordan, Cespedes Family Barbecue, the other half of my podcast, or 66%, repeating 6, of course, at the end there of my podcast. they and I were talking about content ideas, and they were like, well, we think it could be fun to, like, you know, go like interview people during batting practice and like go around and just like talk to guys. I was like, you know what? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I think college baseball can be shown in another light. And I bring a little bit of weird with me wherever I go. And I think the weird's fun. And like, I want to show the weird side of college baseball. So I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's try to do that. And so I texted Coach O'Connor and I was like, hey, Coach Oak, I was wondering if like during batting practice, instead of like bugging you guys with like press conferences afterwards and when the media is trying to talk to you, because I don't really consider myself the media, I'm just Steve, then like, could I do this instead? And he didn't respond for like 5 hours. I sent it at like 5:30 and it was like 10:30 and I was like, okay, well, I guess not. That's fine. Like I wouldn't want to take away from the team. So like totally fine. And I get a call from him. I'm like, oh shit, he's way more upset with this than I thought. And he just goes, Steven, so what? And I go, what? Yeah, sorry I even suggested it, Coach. You know, I just thought it'd be fun. And he goes, no, what do you need, like, to do it? And he was like, would you want a full uniform? I was like, yeah, absolutely.
So he just went the extra mile.
Yeah, Coach Oak, like what many people don't know about him is he's like such a fun guy. But, you know, he's well respected. He's had a lot of success in college baseball, and he can be intense at times, which is important, and you need to be. And, like, you know, as fans, you see him during game time when, you know, the rubber's on the road and you got to be intense. So like there's just a side of him that I got to see as a player that was so cool. And like, I want to be able to show that side of coaches more, because coaches at every level, like there are fun guys out there. They all have a love for baseball, and I want to show that love. Right. You know, it's not just wins and losses for a lot of them. And a lot of them, it's just like Coach Oak has fun every day he goes to the baseball field. And that's why playing for him was so much fun. And I'm sure all the other coaches here have a ton of fun on the ball field.
We just don't get to see it in the press conferences.
Exactly. So I'm trying to find it and show it to the world, because it, like, they have such great personalities. And that's what I love about baseball in general is, like, no matter where you are or who you're talking to, you're going to get a lot of similar personalities. They're easy people to talk to. And, the coaches are the same way, but a lot of that gets hidden because it's like, oh, I got to be a professional. I got to be a grown up, which understands. But a lot of the times they're just little kids who love the game too. And I think that needs to be showcased.
Well, Coach O literally jumped into your arms. I know. So I don't know if you could get like more pure than that.
Yeah, that was like, honestly, I was watching the video back and I was like, yeah, that's one of the best moments of my life. Like, that's the
funniest part of the video.
That's going to go in a scrapbook.
So before this interview, to go back to this, now talking about bringing like a human aspect and like the real aspect into baseball and having fun, did you think your life was going to look like this at all after college?
No. So after college, I was going to move to Wilmington, North Carolina, and become the best damn State Farm agent the world's ever seen.
And you would have probably.
Yeah, I was on my way.
Farm.
Yeah, I was a State Farm agent in Charlottesville. I sold some policies, you know, did the thing in the fall before the spring because the NCAA gave me the fall off, which was sick. No conditioning, got to make money. Cool. Selling insurance, it wasn't really for me. So the interview, like, I didn't go into it with any plan, like, oh, I got to be funny so I can get a job. Like, I think a large issue, not issue, but something that's common in college baseball is, like, in interviews, guys they have answers preset in their mind of like, you know, if I say this, it'll make me look good, or, you know, scouts want to hear me say this, they don't want to hear me say that. And for me, like, I went into it the complete opposite mindset of like, I don't care what anyone thinks of me after this. Like, I'm just gonna be myself, and then, like, if people don't like me, again, that's totally fine, because I like me, and like the people I need to like me. And so we're good, you know?
Exactly.
And things just kind of really took off in a way that I did not expect or see coming, but I couldn't be more thankful for it. Like, it's such a fun life that I get to live now because of it. And because, you know, so many people have supported me through it and like share what I share. And it's just awesome. I couldn't do it without the people that are following me and listening along.
When did you realize that interview was going viral and you're like, okay, things could change?
So I knew it was going, I didn't know it was going viral until probably like halfway through the ODU game. Because we had the South Carolina game. I got the interview done, and then that was like by like 3, I think. And it was a double header because we were in the losers bracket of the regional. So we were playing South Carolina in the morning, finished them, and then ODU. And so we had like a 30-minute break between the first game and the second game where we went to the hotel, put our clothes on, changed because God knows you can't wear the same uniform 2 times in one day.
No.
They would not love mid-major baseball. But so I'm not looking at my phone. Like, I'm not really on it because, like, I wasn't really a big social media guy.
Mhm.
Like, I had 1,300 followers, and it was like I went to a high school with like 1,200 kids. So
Sure.
you do the math there. I only had like 100 out-of-market followers. So I, like, halfway through the game, there were a lot of people like calling out Big Donkey, and I was like, okay, that's my Twitter. Like, it's not an embarrassing Twitter name. Like, I love that Twitter name. Like, the fans aren't going to get me with that.
Mhm.
And then it was like, I kept hearing it, and then I was like, Big Donkey, we love you. And I was like, wait, they aren't being mean to me. That's something
They're being
different.
nice?
I was like, okay, love you too. I don't care. I love everybody. You know? Everybody love everybody. Will Ferrell told me to do that. So I was like, what's going on? And then some UVA fans came by, and they're like, your interview's blowing up. And like, they were telling me. And so, like, Brandon Neek had struck out about 9 guys in a row by this point, and he was not showing any signs of stopping.
Mhm.
He ended up striking out, I think, 16 over 5 innings, or because there was a few drop third strikes, or it was something crazy where he struck out 16 hitters in relief. I knew I wasn't going to come in. You know, I'd gotten up each inning just because superstitions. The first time I got up, he punched out the next 3 guys.
So you kept getting
Next
up.
time, next time I got up, and then they didn't even radio down. I was like, I'll get up. Yeah, sure. For Neek. But I'll check my phone real quick.
Mhm.
And I look at it, and it was like, just
Madness.
like my phone, I pride myself on having battery.
Uh-huh.
It's like one of my proudest things.
What's your battery right now?
My battery right now is probably
It is early.
95%.
We'll do
Wow.
a check-in at the end of the day.
95%. Yeah. Last night was a charge night. Probably charge it tonight, maybe, depending on how it goes.
Not an overnight charger
Yeah,
usually.
no.
Yeah, wow.
Interesting.
Gotta
Impressive.
keep the battery's health. You know, it needs it. But anyway, back to business. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought.
You were checking your phone.
Yep.
Yes, checked my phone, and it was like no battery left, and like it was on 1%. You know that 1% where it's a lie. It's fighting for its life. Like,
Yeah.
you swipe and it just
Freeze, glitch.
Yep.
crawls.
Yeah.
And it did that, and I was like, not even
So you didn't even get to see anything.
not even like a third of the way through, like down the little scroll bar. I was like, oh, things might be a little bit different,
from
moving forward.
Were you like nervous? Like, would my coach get mad at me, or you did not care
I
at
knew
all?
Coach Oak wouldn't care because, like, he's had conversations with me like that literally all the time,
Uh-huh.
where like he's talking to me and I'm just being my doofy self, and
Yeah.
he's cracking up. So like, I know he was. I think one thing that helped me in that situation was Coach Oak would be serious a lot of the times, and I would be serious none of the times.
Mm.
So like, there would be times we would be conditioning, for example. And I'll tell you a little anecdote about Coach Oak. So in the fall leading up to the season, we'll do lots of conditioning. It's the worst time of the year. I hated it.
Yeah.
Our last conditioning test before winter break, or our last conditioning before winter break, was always the hardest because it's like, okay, you're going to go home and eat and all that. And we're warming up for it. It's 5 a.m., I believe.
Oof.
I am shaking. It's freezing cold, wearing shorts and t-shirts. Because God, why would I want to feel my fingers? I don't know. And this might be a little graphic for you too, and so I don't mean to
I'll brace myself.
be too gross, but we're doing stretching, and like, it hits me. I got some knots in my stomach. I get a little anxious sometimes, and sometimes that results in me having to use the restroom and kind of an emergency like situation. So I'm like, hey coach, I got to go to the bathroom. So the closest bathroom, we're on a field hockey field because that's where we run our conditioning.
Mhm.
Closest bathroom's on the other side of the field. And so I just start dead sprinting down there. And I think all the coaches are going to yell at me and start screaming. And the scariest coach, our third base coach, was the guy I asked if I could do it.
Uh-huh.
So like, because if he yelled at me while I was going over there, I think no option. It's out. We're done. But Coach Oak, he hollers out at me as I'm jogging down. He goes, and mind you, it's like December a little bit into December. So it's very on brand. I'm running to this porta potty and I just hear, "Shitter's full, Clark." And it was like one of my favorite memories because it's like he knew I would always joke in situations like that.
You weren't
And so-
expecting it.
No, I was not expecting it. And I was like, at that moment, I was like, "Oh God, I'm going to love this guy. Like, this is the best decision I've ever made."
Yeah.
Well, he means a lot to Omaha too. He played at Creighton, was a part of the College World Series team here. He's literally on the statue in front of the stadium. Like, do you give him crap for that ever?
Oh, all the time. Because it's so awesome. So in baseball, there's this common thing. It's called good shaming. I don't know if it's actually called good shaming. I would always call it good shaming and try to get that to catch on. But it's like a guy plays in the Cape for a summer, comes back, first day in the locker room, he's wearing Cape Cod stuff.
Fun of
Cape
him.
guy, you make fun of him. It's like, but that was sick though.
Right.
Like, you did
It's
really
all
well.
fun.
Good for you.
Nate Savino in high school played all of these big USA events. He graduated high school early to come play with us. I was 23 playing with a 17-year-old. Do you know how
But this is
hard I
illegal.
good shame
Yeah.
that kid? He was so much better than me. Had to good shame him.
Right.
You know, gotta keep him.
I like that
on.
term, good
Yeah.
shaming.
Yeah, no. So
Keep 'em humble.
it's like, oh man, you guys are really getting me. But thanks.
Mhm.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah, and so Coach Oak, he's fun to good shame because it's like you're on
Literally on
you're on
the-
the statue. Ooh. But it's like that's so cool because it's like, you know, you work your
He's
whole life
forever
for
here.
this game.
Yeah.
And like I don't know how statues work, but I feel like that one's not going anywhere.
I don't think they'll move it anywhere.
They look
no.
hard to move.
They actually did move it from Rosenblatt to the stadium, so it's been moved before.
Yeah,
So it
and
can be done, but I don't
you
know why
don't-
they would leave it
you know, it
anywhere
made
else.
more moving expenses.
No,
It's found its home.
I think the stadium's pretty much here to stay. Well, should we
Seems like
talk about the games inside the stadium too?
Let's do it.
Yeah, we can do that.
So bracket
Talk
one,
baseball.
TCU, ORU. Yeah, we've talked about pretty much everything but the games, but I love that too.
Yeah,
That's why our
my bad.
podcast is called Keep It Real. We're keeping it very real. So TCU, ORU up first. ORU, of course, the Cinderella team of this, but they don't really call themselves that. They're pretty much feel like they're here to stay. I think it's a really interesting and maybe overlooked matchup. Steve,
Yeah.
starting with you, TCU, ORU. What do you think?
I really like it. When I played for the Katuitt Cavaliers in the Cape Cod League, I got good shame. But
Good
but
shaming moment.
one of my teammates, Adam Oviedo, transferred from TCU to ORU.
Oh.
So that's just something random that I think about in this
Mhm.
Yeah.
matchup. He was a very good player though. But I really like ORU because, like, just talking with their guys, their mindset's like, well, we're here. We might as well win it, you know?
Yep.
It's like,
Sure.
why waste any time? And, like, they did great in the Eugene Super Regional where they just kept fighting. And, like, you know, you gave them a chance to get back in the game. They were going to get back in the game, which you got to respect. And they really fought and clawed their way here to Omaha. So
Mhm.
I couldn't be more excited to watch them play live and in person. And then TCU's just been on a tear as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
halfway through the season, they were like, you know what? We're actually not enough people are talking about how good we are. Let's just make them.
Yeah.
And that's what they spent the rest of the season doing. Like, they've been on fire. Trey Richardson's hitting more home
Mhm.
runs than he hit all season in one weekend. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
Right.
Like, you
They
double.
just turned it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
And they're also wearing the same BP jerseys. Have you caught that story yet?
no.
So
Oh,
mid-season, they had a 5-game losing streak, and they were like, "Hey, we got to change up the mojo a little bit." So they've worn their TCU BP jerseys every single game since,
I love that.
and they've won. They're on an 11-game win streak. It's completely changed their season around.
You
I
gotta
love
stick
that.
with what's working.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, how much laundry is your equipment manager doing though? But
Probably a decent amount, but
probably a lot.
I would rather do victory laundry than like sad
Absolutely.
loss
That's true.
laundry, you know?
That's true. I'm excited about. We're based here in Omaha in the Summit League. We've seen for the past few years how legit this Oral Roberts team has been.
Mhm.
And it felt like it's kind of just been building. Like they win a tournament and then they get to regional, so close, lose, or they, you know, win a regular season, lose in a Summit League tournament. But they're a really great team. So to finally see them on a grand stage, national stage, and get them the recognition, I think that we've kind of recognized for a little bit. And like we said, talking yesterday, like the seeding doesn't mean anything here. So I think they'll be in it no matter what. But it's just kind of hard to deny what TCU and
Right.
you put up. What was it, 42 or 32 runs against Arkansas in Fayetteville? It's pretty hard to
Right.
look past, right? So I'm excited. Like you said, it might be overlooked, but I'm really excited for this game one.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to the next game. Florida against Virginia. Steven, your team, of course. That's a 6 p.m. game. I know who you're taking because I already saw your predictions.
Yeah.
You want Virginia to win the whole thing.
Yeah,
Why
it's-
not?
Got to.
But
It's
your
hard
insight.
for me to say that they aren't gonna, you know,
Yeah.
because
giving me everything I got in life. So
Exactly.
I'll always back them. But I think it's going to be such a good matchup. I mean, Brandon Sproat on the mound for Florida. He's one of the most impressive pitchers I've seen. I actually got the opportunity to go down to Gainesville for D1 baseball and watch the not the regional, just watch him play Alabama for a weekend series. And he went, I believe he threw a complete game. It took an hour and 50 minutes, and it was like the most impressive pitching performance I've ever seen. Like, he just refused to throw balls. And when you do that with 98 miles an hour, you typically have success. I really like the way Virginia manufactures runs, though, because what's so good about them this year is like they're very fundamentally sound, where they can do the get them on, get them over, get them in, but also they have the power potential to put the ball out of the yard with relatively anyone in the lineup. Now that Griff O'Farrell has hit his first home run of the season, what a time to do it. Thank you, Griff. That was an awesome home run. But I think it's going to be a really good matchup. I mean, you get to watch Jack Caglione play against my friends, and like it's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, lots of star power.
Yeah, being in this stadium we've played here, Coach O'Connor talked about how it's obviously hard to get balls out of this stadium. I know we've seen kind of an uptick in numbers, but he said this team's like a gap-to-gap hitting team. As a pitcher, does that scare you? You think, to know that a team can get it done even when they're not hitting a long ball?
Yeah, because then it's like I don't care about giving up home runs, because typically home runs, if they're solo home runs, they aren't going to hurt you. But if you're getting hit around, if you're walking guys, that's when home runs get really bad. But gap to gap is killer, because it's just like getting killed with paper cuts. It's like, two gap shots and then a flare scores 2 runs. And it's like, what the hell? Yeah. And it's just, as a pitcher, it's very frustrating. And here, the gaps are very big. Right. There's a lot of running to be done. I believe I gave up a double in the gap as well.
I saw they brought up your homer you gave up. So that's pretty.
Yeah,
that's pretty
I remember that one. Yeah, it's all right. It was something I did, back in the day, back in college. That's crazy.
That video was hilarious. It just cuts off right at the end.
I was like, ooh.
All right. Well, Wake Forest, Stanford, that's in bracket 2. Saturday's 1 p.m. game. Wake Forest, of course, the number 1 seed, and then Stanford, the team that was supposed to go a little bit further last year, went 2-0 though in Omaha. Steven, thoughts on Wake Forest and Stanford?
Well, Wake Forest, they're trying to prove something. They're trying to break the old 1 seed curse, which curses are all made up. Don't believe in them. Superstitions are real, though. Believe in those. But they just have a ton of star power in their lineup and on the mound. Like, what makes them so good is their pitching staff. They spend a lot of money developing their pitchers, and when you do that and you think about it, you spend all fall doing inter squads. You're facing off against first round potential, like three different first round potential arms, and you're a hitter. You might not have success, but you're getting so much better than if you're facing crappy pitching, you know? So that's one of the things where having pitching, it benefits you more than just keeping the other team off the scoreboard, but it also sharpens up your hitter and gets them ready to compete against other guys who might not be first round potential arms. So that's really interesting for them. And of course, Stanford's got some good pitching. So, is it the same caliber as Rhett Lauder and those guys? Maybe not, but it's still up there. It's still up there. And they have the offense that is really just prolific. Like they have every guy in their lineup is like a household name in college baseball. And if they aren't, you just got to move your household into a cooler one that's more focused on college baseball. But, I mean, you get Drew Bowser, Carter Graham, those guys don't know what it's like for a season not to end up in Omaha.
Yeah,
like insane.
Talked to Drew Bowser yesterday, and I made a joke before the interview, and I was like, you've been here every year of your college career. I was like, does it kind of wear off, or is it just, he's like, I mean, not in a weird way, but it just kind of feels like this end of the year tournament we go to. And I was like, oh, that's casual.
That's fine.
But he was like, but the excitement and the shine of it doesn't go away. It's just kind of crazy to think that majority of our team that are juniors have been here every single year.
Yeah, and he's such a humble dude too. So he's just like, I love that joke.
Yeah.
It's like, it's our post-grad
We've just
trip.
been in this random place every year.
Just our Omaha trip.
Where we finish our season.
Just got to go to Middle America.
But I love that that's their attitude towards it. Because, I mean, you take a game and you idolize the game, or you idolize the players you're playing against. You're going to lose that.
100%.
100% of the time. So I love that mindset.
Yep, even the playing field. Absolutely.
Before we move past this game real fast, I want to ask you, because obviously playing the ACC, I don't think the conference has gone under the radar in the past few years, but seeing a number 1 seed being Wake Forest, seeing Duke being close, Virginia, Clemson making a run, where do you feel like the ACC is growing in terms of baseball?
I think it's really trending upwards because, I mean, you think about it, the talent pool in college baseball has been so different in the past 2 years because, I mean, you shorten the draft, you cut it in half. Half those guys are not getting drafted now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you're missing out on a lot of guys who had signed just for like, oh, I'd sign for anything to play. And now it's like, okay, well, where do those guys go? Well, COVID gives them an extra year eligibility, so that brings them back to college. Then you get these high school recruits who, oh, well, I can't play right now because now there's a 24-year-old in my spot. I'll go to IMG, I'll go to preparatory school, get better.
Right.
So 2021, 2022, when this gap year is happening, now that talent's coming and filtering into college baseball. And so, you know, the SEC, there's only so many roster size limits you can fit in. So that talent's got to go somewhere. And I think with the ACC having Wake Forest at the top and just really being well represented this year will help with recruiting down the line and kind of be like, hey, look, we know the SEC is humongous, but we are something too.
Yeah.
And if you want, like, I think it would be so good if for the selection committee or super regionals, however it works, to have ACC schools matched up with SEC schools, because it makes no sense to have 2 schools from the same conference playing in a super regional for me, because it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go play another weekend series at LSU.
Right.
Like, okay, that's not as fun as like maybe going to Oregon and learning what that stadium is like and what their culture is like. And being in Oregon, because you're probably not going to do that if you're in Louisiana and stuff like that. So I think that would be a fun way to just kind of be like, you know, give conferences bragging rights and, you know, again, raise up more to the top than just one.
Absolutely. Well, last matchup, LSU, Tennessee, I think probably the highest anticipated matchup, if you will. Lots of star power again in both, and Tennessee, a team that obviously didn't make it to the College World Series last year. That curse that does not exist, Steven. You don't think it exists?
Mythical.
So what
Unlike
are you thinking?
Bigfoot.
LSU, Tennessee?
LSU, Tennessee. All I know is it's going to be an electric game. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. There might be like people might kill each other. It's scary how much these 2 schools go at it on Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see, but I'm totally joking. They won't kill each other. That's just the fun part about college baseball.
Sure.
Like if you're mean online, you're probably nice in person.
Right. They're just trolling.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, that's the beautiful thing about Omaha. Like you go to the bars, there's like 13 different fan bases in there.
All across the nation.
8, and they're just like, hey, your team's really good. Like they have the respect for each other of knowing like college baseball is an absolute grind. You're playing 60 games this season. Like it's not easy. Yeah. And then, pass your chemistry exams, do that stuff too. It's like, okay, well, try, but no promises on the exam part. So like the fans just have that respect and that admiration of like, Omaha truly is the mecca of college baseball. Like this is a rite of passage in some ways. And so like everybody's just happy to be here, at the end of the day, whether they're fans of any of the teams here or if they're just fans of college baseball who wanted to check out the College World Series, like,
or they're just here to take some jello shots.
Exactly. Right. Whatever it may be, you're still doing it and having fun and enjoying it. And what I feel is one of the best environments in the world. So it's really just so special out here. And I think that game is going to really capture some of that special energy.
What do you think on the split of the fan base tomorrow night?
Oh, geez. I'll go about 65-35 LSU to Tennessee, just because, LSU fans, they set aside money for Omaha, because they're like,
they have a piggy bank.
We go about every 2 or 3 years. We'll set this aside, for when they go back. Tennessee, it's a further trip.
Yep.
Like I believe LSU's 900 miles. Tennessee's probably around. I don't know.
I'm gonna go 1,200.
Okay, yeah, that's more. So
maybe 1,000.
Quick check.
No, I'm gonna go 1,000.
Watch. No, the check, it's going to be like 900.
You're gonna have to
Watch.
look
It's
it
going to be the exact same. I know it.
While I looked this up, my second question about this was, if I know everyone talks about it being here in Omaha and why it's so special, but do you think if it was anywhere else, it could, I don't know, replicate what this place is? Because you're not by the mountains, you're not by the water, you're truly in the middle of America.
Mhm.
What about being in the middle of the Midwest and a place like this makes this environment so special?
I think it's just the fact that, like, it's for college baseball.
Yeah.
Like,
The city was basically built around this event.
yeah, which, like, is so awesome. The only other place I can imagine it being is the parking lot of the zoo. That would be sick.
That's a good place.
Because then I
Interesting.
could walk out and just go see giraffes between games, which would be freaking sick. Can't do that anymore, which stinks. Well, maybe if there's an accident at the zoo and the giraffe wants to check
they
out.
run on over.
I've seen some giraffes message me about getting hats, so it's like I know the giraffe
Everyone wants a
market
hat.
for
Everyone wants
college
them.
baseball is there. They just want to poke over the right field fence. They won't bug anyone. But no, like it's just really special, and it's really a part of Omaha. I mean, like, teams at UVA, after every practice, we would get in a huddle and shout this city's name, like,
Yeah, right.
because it's just, they go hand in hand. Like, I couldn't imagine it anywhere else. I'm sure if, like, you wanted funny, like, video ideas for, like, goofy places it could be, I could come up with those.
Yep.
It would just take me a second. Like, I don't know, Syracuse, like, hosting it there.
Syracuse.
That would be funny, because it's like, hey, we don't even have this.
Yeah.
But, Omaha is the only place it could be. Like, it would just feel weird anywhere
Couldn't
else.
agree more. One more thing I want to bring up before we plug your hats. The Jello shot competition. And I'm really sorry to report Virginia's last in the running.
Number one.
He hasn't been there yet.
So you haven't been there yet. We'll have to take you after the show. So Virginia's at 29, but top three teams right now, LSU with 282, ORU 129, and TCU with 105. These are the numbers from last night.
It's been updated.
It's been updated.
Wake Forest is in the lead.
Wake Forest is now in the lead.
Made a push.
Oh my gosh.
Wake Forest. Wow. Good for them.
So
No,
I'm
their
impressed
fans-
because they were in last it was Wake Forest, Virginia for bottom two last night. So that's impressive. Something must have happened.
They don't play till Saturday. Fans were
Wake
at late
Forest
last
fans
night.
are-
Okay.
Wake Forest fans are interesting. I really enjoy them. I sat with them at the ACC tournament. They talk the game pretty well, and they have a lot of fun at games. So,
Well, they could have a lot of fun here if they keep producing runs like that.
yeah, and they could be here a while. I mean,
Mhm.
they could really get some Jello shots if they need to.
Well, Steven, let's plug your hats. Where can people find you? Where can people support?
BigDonkeyBrand.com is a janky little website that I made with these beautiful little fingertips right here on Shopify. You can go there and buy a hat. I accept PayPal and credit cards, either one. You can also send check by mail, probably. I mean, I don't know.
You accept checks?
Yeah, probably. I will. I don't know.
Write them out to Big Donkey.
Yeah, I mean, if you know how to do a check, sure. I mean, power to
I don't
you.
think
Can you-
anyone does now.
Can you teach me? Because I don't know. But yeah, BigDonkeyBrand.com. You can buy hats there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's BigDonkey47. And if you're like, wow, maybe I want to buy a hat, but I'm not going to remember that website name, just follow me on Twitter because it's in my bio. I got you. Don't even worry.
Make it
about
easy.
I'll make it easy on you. And then, boom, hat.
Which one's your favorite?
My favorite is probably, I'm not wearing it right now. It's the one that says Big Donkey Brand, and it has a little donkey in the middle.
Nice.
There you go.
It's just a good hat. I mean, like, what I like about the hats is, like, they have a little cloth
Yeah.
wrap around.
I like that.
It's very
They're
soft,
pretty legit.
Good touch.
and I really like drinking on the beach.
Mhm.
So it's really good for that. The product testing the results have been amazing.
Wonderful.
They work on the beach too.
Had a great time 10 out of 10 times.
There you go.
So
Have you walked around and seen anyone wearing them?
yeah,
How
it's like the
nice.
coolest thing in
Yeah.
the world because it's like I make them all by hand. So like
Do you?
I print them out and like iron them on and everything, like make sure they're good.
Yeah.
Make sure the rope's in good place. Like if the rope comes messed up, because sometimes in shipping, like they can come loose, and I want to make sure that that's not the case because that'd be embarrassing for me. So I make sure the rope's secure, all that
Mhm.
stuff. And so it's like, wow, that's the work of my hands on that human's head. And
That's
they were
pretty
like,
cool.
you know what? I'll
Do
put
they
this on.
recognize you every time? Like they
Yeah.
know. Okay. Yeah.
I always make sure to go, hey, that's a really sharp looking hat.
No, oh my god. I bought it from you.
It's like, yeah, I made it too. It's so much fun. Like, I really appreciate people showing the support, but also like it makes me happy because then I know they're wearing it outside the stadium.
Exactly.
Because they got to walk to that car
Spreading
or somewhere.
the game, spreading the
Unless
hat game too.
Unless they know teleportation, in which case, please DM me because otherwise you're gonna have to wear it out, and you're gonna have to grow the game by accident. Or, like whether you like it or not, you're growing the game.
Absolutely.
I love it.
That's what you're all about. Grow the game. Steven Schoch, thank you so much for joining Keep It Real. We appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank y'all very much for having me and bearing with me through all the stories and the rambling.
Yeah.
I love all the stories. That's literally
the best
why
part
our
of our
show's called
podcast.
Keep It Real.
Yeah.
We're keeping it real with you, Steven Schoch. Once again, thank you so much. I guess go Who's?
Go Who's. Go
Okay,
Who's.
we'll see
yes,
you
of
in there.
course. Thank y'all very much.
All right. Thanks, Steven.
Thank you. Oh, perfect. That was awesome.